Hey there, Wall Street winners. It is after market close on Wednesday, April the 9th, and it was a bit of a shoot first, ask questions later kind of afternoon where we received a True Social post from the president saying buy now. And then moments later, we got an announcement that reciprocal tariffs were going to be paused 90 days. And then out in the Rose Garden, where Liberation Day took place originally, Scott Bessent and the White House press secretary made an announcement and answered some questions. But there are really a lot of unanswered questions at this point that will need clarification going into the market open or the futures in the market open tomorrow that are going to greatly impact the direction that the market takes tomorrow. And some of those questions are things like um, are the auto tariffs still in place between Canada, Mexico, and the US? I believe they still are, but that needs to get clarified. I think there's still the original base 10% tariff in place that was part of the many tariffs that have been levied and removed and levied again. So that's another question. And then there was talk today about pharmaceutical tariffs coming. And the question around that is when are they coming? When can those be expected? Pharmaceutical stocks took a dive today on that news in the market. And then there's also talk of semiconductor tariffs coming. So when will those come? Because obviously the Nasdaq recovered like the other indexes today, and the technology stocks in the Nasdaq that make up the Nasdaq performed quite well towards the end of the day and into the close. But all of this continued improvement is going to be very, very dependent on um, pending future announcements. And it seems like they just come out at random times with um, not a great deal of planning behind them. And that uncertainty, again, is what is creating chaos in the market. So that uncertainty is not going to help the US consumer feel better and go out and spend. And that's the big concern because the US economy is so driven by the US consumer and their spending. Uh, there needs to be a shift in how things are messaged and communicated. And there needs to be a better strategy put in place and maybe spoken about. And that doesn't seem to be part of the administration's game plan. So, what happens tomorrow remains to be seen. I'm an optimist, so I am of the belief that the markets will rally again in the morning. It may not last the full day, but being that we had 3 days of a correction and it was a pretty painful correction, I do believe we will see a continued rally into the morning session tomorrow, maybe beyond that. And then what happens Friday, I think, is going to primarily be driven by the earnings reports coming out of the big financials like JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley. The Bank of America set to report. So there's a number set to report on Friday, and then Goldman and others start on Monday. So I think those and the new earnings season will then start to drive some of the narrative and some of the volatility in the market. But all of that can have a wrench thrown into it if there are random Truth Social posts or tweets or other things coming out of the White House or unexpected announcements. So that's where we are. We still have tariffs with China, and they've been up, they've increased yet again. So one of the US's larger trading partners has significant tariffs and is in a trade war now, full on trade war with the US. So that's a risk as well in the market. So we're no means out of this, but we did have a bit of a day of a reprieve, and hopefully you made some money today and were able to jump in and ride that wave up. Good luck in your trades, and if you like these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button.